everyone, welcome to this awesome edition of the Electronic Cafe. Mark and I have just had a fabulous hour with Gary Daly from China Crisis. Absolutely brilliant conversation, mate. Absolute delight to talk to him, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, China Crisis is one of those bands which kind of sat amongst that roster of artists in the early 80s, doing something completely different with their electronic music. They've always been there for us. I mean, Christian, Africa and White, Black Man Ray, King in a Catholic Style, so many great tunes. It's really great to catch up with Gary this morning and hear the backstories.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So shall we let everyone see our chat with him?
Yeah, everybody, Mr. Gary Daly from China Crisis on the Electronic Cafe. If you was to have a dinner table for 4 people, dead or alive, who would your 3 other guests be?
Oh, for fuck's sake, I don't know.
Loving all hands and knees, always trying hard to please. Never in my life I found a question or discovered why in my life I found.
Hey everyone, welcome to this fabulous interview edition of the Electronic Cafe. Today we literally have a gentleman that lit up our turntables from 1982 to this very day. Gary Daly from China Crisis. Mate, welcome to the
Hi.
Cafe.
Hi, guys.
Good to have you here. There's a real buzz around you guys, Kate. I mean, Flaunt the Imperfection, we were talking about a minute ago, is being reissued tomorrow.
Yeah.
The tour, is massive. You must be loving, and they're loving the kind of buzz around you guys right now. There seems to be a huge kind of resurgence for you.
Well, yeah and no. I don't know. I don't notice any of that really, other than no, not really. Other than we've sort of been playing live for quite a time now, and we've sort of learned how to enjoy it. So it's a bit nice. Yeah, everyone coming to the gigs. It's a bit sort of special, and we do get to everywhere and anywhere. Do you know what I mean? We really do. It's literally non-stop. I don't really notice the buzz around us because I just feel we're a gig and working band now. We're a bit like, Stiff Little Fingers and the Buzzcocks, and do you know what I mean? We'll be an 80s version of them where we'll just crack on forever. And the buzz that comes and goes or waxes and wanes. We got Autumn in the Neighborhood out 10 years ago, and we're thrilled that everybody thought it was as good as anything we'd made, because that was a big worry, that we'd put music out there and it wouldn't really be as good as what we'd done before. We had a little taster of that with Walk by Success when we put that out, and it didn't really hit the mark, and it was a bit upsetting because it was like, you always want to strive to be better for some reason. I don't know why that is. I don't know what that is, but people do it, and we're no different, and we were trying to do that. So the fact we achieved that for people who enjoyed our music was great, really. But the buzz around us, really, I feel is a little bit like, well, we're just doing our job properly, really. We're just sort of, genuine about what we do. And if we go into a room, it doesn't matter where it is or how big or how little or how, ratty is the word I've been using a lot up and down the country. But that's the only buzz I would sort of think is sort of relevant to us, is that we're genuine about the job we do, and people seem to appreciate that. And if you imagine, we've traveled quite a lot, so the M65 or the M62 or the M6, it doesn't really hold many surprises, or there's not many adventures along the way. So really your best part of that day is literally on the stage in front of people, and that's really how it should be, really, isn't it? You know, when you're young, you get a bit sidetracked, and it's like, oh, drink and drugs and good times, they're great as well, aren't they? Gosh, they're as great as the music. Fucking hell, man. What am I doing in Texas? They're going to arrest me. Oh, fucking hell. But then there comes a point, you know, after all the years where you do sort of go, oh, I see, yeah, it is the music. You know, the music lives on, really.
Forgive me for asking. Now wipe away your tears. And if I wish to stop it all, and if I wish to comfort the fall, it's just wishful thinking.
I mean, the buzz that we've noticed, what Andy was alluding to, is that we've got a mini series ongoing where we're releasing albums that are celebrating their 40th anniversary. And last week we did Flaunt the Imperfection, which is now, I mean, me and Andy, we remember it back in the day. I mean, it's a great album. I mean, I've got it. It's reissued tomorrow, which is fantastic. But we've got 12,000 subscribers, and we got so many positive messages about, I love that album. I love the sound of China Crisis. They were so different. I mean, and last 2024, you brought out the China Greatest album, which was a spin on your favorite song. I mean, you was talking earlier about that. Yeah, you do things properly. It wasn't just a lazy lump some strings onto your greatest hits. It was kind of like orchestrated and cinematic. It was done properly, and and I think it charted pretty well, didn't it? It sold pretty well.
Yeah, in the top 10.
Wow.
We got. There was only Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish, and you know, there was only a few of them above us, really. Unfortunately, it was only a week, and I think we could have been at least 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But all the shops sold out, and there was no following it up. Do you know what I mean? With more records, so it was a little bit. Oh, fucking hell, man! But we weren't really to know that it would be so popular. Really, we had an idea because we were pre-sale and, you know, on the tour and stuff, you know, which all helped towards the chart position. It was a nice little sort of interesting thing to do, a little stopgap between there being any new music. And it was a chance for Ed and myself to choose some of the songs that we actually really like, you know, apart from just the hits. It was like, look, it's been a long, up to now, it's been over 40 years. So there's a lot of music there. So it was nice for me and Ed to be able to choose some of the songs that we really like and to sort of give them a bit of a thing of, well, look, we like all manner of music, really, and look what happens when we apply it to our music. Oh, my God, it's almost Bond theme, or it's almost Mission Impossible, or it's almost, you know, John Barry, or it's almost, you know, John Williams. And a lot of that was young Jack, you know, Jack Hymes, our keyboard player. He did all the arrangements, basically, all the new arrangements. And he just sort of ran them by us towards the end of what he was doing, really. Me and Ed didn't get involved really with telling him anything. He knows us. He's been working with us for like nearly the last almost 10 years. So he actually knows the stuff that we listen to and what interests us. And I think that sort of guided him through it, really. You know, Jack did train at uni, really. He did arrangements and film music, and this kind of, it was what he was training to do, really.
Did it blow your mind when you first heard it? Because I mean, like I said, it wasn't just an artist lumping strings onto the old songs. It was rearranged, and it is very cinematic.
Yeah, definitely. I really was. You know, I couldn't wait for people to hear it. But then don't forget, it was mixed by Mark Vivian.
That's right, yeah.
Mark was a T-boy originally, a 15-year-old lad on working with Fire and Steel in Amazon Studios. He got the T, and he actually played China Crisis songs in his little school band. And so then for him to go on to have such an amazing career where he works with everyone from Coldplay to Patti Smith to Paolo Nutini to Echo and the Bunnymen to literally everybody.
Wow.
And he goes on to win 3 Grammys, and I'm like, well, hang on, me and Ed haven't even been nominated for 1. What the hell? And Mark was the same, you know. Mark didn't really involve us in the mix because it was like we'd sort of commissioned them to mix it. It's not like back in the day where you'd all be round a mixing desk and it'd be all hands on, and it's not like that now so much, is it? It's more a case of you choose somebody to mix your record and then they let you know when it's mixed, and that's when you get involved, really. So imagine Jack goes away and does the arrangements. We love them. They go to Mark. Mark does the mixers. He sends the mixers to us. We have a listen, and we just do, I think you do 2 or 3 little tweaks, and then that's it. It's, do you know what I mean? It's sort of like mine and Ed's job was back in the day. It was our job to write them and record them. Yeah. So that really was a project that was like, it was so nice to make it happen.
Yeah.
And for a lot of the fans to really enjoy it. But it was nice to also, you know, work with the people that we chose, really. It was nice for them to get super involved, really. There's nothing like paying somebody properly and go, and there's your job. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, great, that's what, oh, it's meant to work like this, isn't it? Yeah. Not promises, not, and you'll get 6% of this, and not that. Do you know what I mean? You just do it properly.
Plenty of those stories.
Do it properly.
Yeah. And we're the people who reason why forever change as time goes by. Yes, yes, I could be wrong. Why should I pretend? God only knows in the end.
You guys go way back. How did it all start for you both? Like, I mean,
at school.
It started at school.
Yeah, in 1976, 77, we were in the largest Roman Catholic all-boys school in Europe, and that was in Kirkby. Ed was a bit brighter than me. He got lowered down for truancy. So imagine, you know, there's 3 rungs, and Ed was in the top one, I was in the middle one, and then there was a bottom one, and then there was remedial. So Ed would have got lowered down, and I would have been like, well, who's this cat, you know, coming into our class and stuff. And then he was into Bowie and stuff, and I thought, well, that's just girls' music, that's not ELP. That's not ELP or Yes or Hawkwind, you know, that's your sister's music. And then at some point went over to his house, and it was 77, 78. We're about to leave school, and he plays me Low. And I was like, oh, hang on, that's like Tangerine Dream or someone like, what the hell's that? So then I would have borrowed that. So me and Ed, the thing in common was we both loved music more than anything the teachers were trying to teach us. The fact that Ed could actually do the work was the difference between us, really, was I couldn't really. I would sort of entertain them while they were doing the work, and then I would copy Ed's book or, you know, one of the lads, what we'd been doing. But really, we both love music more than anything, really. So then I would have started going back to Ed's house. He had a guitar. His brother had a bass guitar. His brother stopped with the bass guitar. I started picking it up. I'd had a guitar originally when I was 12, so I knew vaguely, yeah, this is music, this, isn't it? This is God. So then, and neither of us were singers, and neither of us sang, and that didn't happen until we started doing these little instrumentals, and we saw our mates being in punk groups and stuff like that, and it was like, well, we don't want to be punks, but we might want to tie a microphone to a stand and play these little instrumentals and see if we can sing over them. And And then to sing, you needed words. So then if we were working on a tune and Eddie come up with some words, he'd be singing it. And then if I come up with some words, I'd be singing it. And that's how we learned to sort of become singers over our music. But we didn't really become singers until it was all over, really. And we'd sort of written all these songs, and then, you know, last 20 years learned to sing them and stuff. You know, that's what happens, really. I cannot tell you the amount of people I've been involved with in Liverpool that I've thought are amazing writers and amazing singers and as good as anything I've done, and it just doesn't happen for them. It just doesn't, you know. I don't know what that is. That is like, that's the weird element that nobody can put their finger on, really.
Well, you know, me and Andy was in bands through the 80s and 90s, and we played all around. We played the London circuit and stuff like that, and we was okay. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that we was brilliant, but there were bands that were really shit that were signed and kind of got off platform, and like we didn't, and it's kind of like, well, how did that happen? But, going back, I mean, you guys were signed to Virgin in the early 80s, which at the time, I mean, what a diverse label that was. I mean, I had a quick list here. Heaven 17, Skids, XTC, Peter Gabriel, Simple Minds, OMD, Culture Club, Japan, Human League, Magazine. You was on a label that is so diverse and so brilliant at a time when...
I can't tell you how much we loved Magazine. The fact we ended up on the same label as them was unreal. But then it was come to an end for them, wasn't it? And you know what? You never saw anybody in the office. You never saw anybody in Portobello Road. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like you went in and, oh, there's Phil Oakey. Oh, there's Glenn Gregory. You know, oh, there's Howard Devoto. Oh, there's Andy Summers. You know, it just didn't happen, really. Occasionally you would see somebody, occasionally, you know, Boy George would turn up in a restaurant that you were in the afternoon because you were with the press agent, you know, press officer. So occasionally you would meet people, but very rarely, really, very rarely. But you did know you were in like an amazing place. You knew you were in an amazing place, especially once Human League kicked in with Dare. It just went fucking mental, you know, because suddenly they had a million seller on their hands again, and they hadn't had that since Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells. So they went fucking mental. Like every day was sort of Christmas because it was just so popular, that record. And then you had Phil Collins, and then it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, what label are we with now? You know, they've just gone enormous. And when we joined them, like you said, all those artists, it still only amounted, you know, to about, I reckon 20, 25 artists, something like that. You know, they had a few obscure reggae label on the go and a few obscure acts nobody had really heard of. Maybe Black Uhuru were in there somewhere. And then by the time we were leaving Virgin, my God, they had about 150 acts, and it was Janet Jackson and the Rolling Stones, and oh my God, they had airplanes and they had trains, and it was like it wasn't fucking Tubular Bells anymore. I know that.
My point being is that you were considered, and China Crisis were considered like amongst that group of acts at the beginning, which is a testament to you, Eddie, and China Crisis. You know, it was such a diverse label. I mean, how did you get signed to Virgin? Did they see you?
Well, I really do think they thought everyone else was going to sign us, because we'd literally Jerry in Liverpool. So we're signed to Inevitable Records, and they've got Dead or Alive, It's Immaterial, Pete Wiley. And originally, Jerry was going to do a label deal where Inevitable Records signed to Virgin Records, and we would have been part of that. So just before that happened, we took our little demos. Jerry from the Amazon Studios in Liverpool, he got us some appointments, like A&M and Epic Records and maybe Ireland or someone, And Eddie and me would have gone down with some cassettes to leave with people, and we would have played African and White and Christian and a couple of other tunes, but they were very basic. They were on the Porter Studio. They were little 4-track recordings. We went round to everybody. Everybody's very enthusiastic, but nobody got back that we're going to sign this act at all. Didn't think we were going to get signed. Then Jerry's sort of talking about a label deal with Virgin Records. And then that didn't work out because either Dead or Alive or Pete Wiley wasn't interested in a label deal. And Virgin Records turned around and said, "You know what? We don't care. It was only China Crisis we wanted anyway." So they ended up signing us, and it changed from a label deal to Jerry was going to produce the album, and that didn't turn out. So Virgin would have come to see us a couple of times. Eddie and myself still played with the Porter Studio as a backing track. We had Dave Riley playing a bit of drums. I played a bit of synth. Eddie played guitars. We didn't have that many songs. We couldn't have done more than 25 minutes. They come and saw us in a pub in London. Nobody there. And then they put us on with Simple Minds in Liverpool at the Royal Court. It was us, Ice House, and Simple Minds. And they liked what they saw, and they liked what they heard, and they signed us, really. That's how we ended up with Virgin.
Waterfalls, I heard romantic calls, feather in a ray of sunlight, tragedy and mystery. Open your mind and you will see. Your world is changing, though you cannot see. There's no room for secrecy.
African and White. I mean, that was your first single that really. It resonated with us both. In fact, I still remember buying, I think it was the 12-inch, like a green, dark green.
Yeah.
And I owned it like it was yesterday and playing it and going, fuck me, this is amazing. Look, when you released it, did you feel like you'd arrived when that first piece of work got out into the market?
Well, the first time when it was on Inevitable, because that one you would have been Virgin Records in 82.
Yeah.
So imagine Inevitable Records, I think, was 81. And that was no 12-inch. That was like 3,000 singles they printed up, with Rough Trade.
Right.
Distributing it. And I was like that to Ed, who the hell's going to buy that? Who the hell? We don't know anybody. We don't gig. It's not like we've got a following or anything. But the next thing you know, John Peel's playing it.
Yeah.
Janice Long is playing it, Peter Powell's playing it, Kid Jensen's playing, everybody's playing it. And that contributed, to the whole Virgin thing and stuff. But no, I didn't really, not with African and White, no, because it was a bit too noisy for me. And I didn't like it as much as the demo. The demo is so charming and sounds so sonically, to me, beautiful. Yeah. There's a lovely thing on Ed's guitar. We didn't know what we were doing. We programmed the drum machine. We didn't know how to program it. It was a DR55 Dr. Rhythm, where you tapped the beats and the spaces in, and we didn't know what we were doing, but it came back and it went do, 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 do. And Eddie and me immediately thought it was like The Light Pours Out of Me magazine. So we were like, fuck, amazing, this is amazing. But when we went in the studio and did it, that was the first time we'd been in a recording studio, and that was 24 track.
Yeah.
So we were a bit savvy. We'd been working on a Porter studio for a year, so we knew about slowing the tape down, we knew about speeding it up, we knew about turning it over. We knew about reverse echo and reverb and double tracking and bouncing tracks. So we were a bit savvy. But literally, that African and White record is the first time we were in a 24-track recording studio. It was a bit unreal, that we went in and then it's a record. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. Does it really have to be? So, yeah, it was great as in... I liked the way everybody liked it, and we were trying to be a bit the Talking Heads, you know, with all the percussion, and stuff. But to me, it's a bit bombastic. It's a bit, you know. Is it? Have we failed to fire the cannons? Do you know what I mean? That Middle East. Can we have live cannon fire in there?
But your sound is so distinctive. I mean, you touched on the fact that Eddie liked Bowie and stuff. I mean, what were your influences back in the day that went into the mixing pot, which gave China Crisis their distinctive sound?
Well, I was always very keyboard minded, and I was always very ambient, and that was like from prog rock really, and Tangerine Dream's Rubicon, and then the LP's Trilogy, and I think a lot of the singing was Greg Lake. There's something about it that is, when I listen to ELP now, I can hear how much I loved his voice and his singing, and the way he had a gentle manner most of the time of delivering it. And I think because Ed and me weren't singers, we just mimicked our favourite singers, you know, like Greg Lake and Howard Devoto and Dave Byrne and Brian Eno, you know, all the people who couldn't sing that well, really, apart from Greg, of course. And Ed was always a bit more song orientated, I think, and a bit more... Ed can really enjoy a song, you know, where I'm a bit sort of like, God, are we still listening to that? God, really, can we not have one day where there's no Elton John? Just one day on Earth, you know, where there's no Queen, where there's no, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? The way the music...
I know exactly what you mean.
Fucking hell, man, are we going to hear that again? Oh, my God. Well, Ed can properly engage with popular songs, you know what I mean? Whereas I'm a bit sort of... I like a lot of music where there is no song in there, it's just music, and you sort of, you know, Steve Reich and Philip Glass and all these kind of people where it's a bit more music and the music in there. So throughout everything we did, I was always Eno, and Ed was always Steely Dan and David Bowie and Stevie Wonder, and fortunately enough, you know, we followed Ed's sort of direction a bit more and the band a bit more, and hence we ended up in the charts and not in the experimental section of, oh yeah, I just filed China Crisis under Jurity column, and you know, yeah, that's really what was happening sort of around the mixing desk.
I mean, I'm quite intrigued about your sound though, Gary, because the palette of instruments you used back in the day, you had the Jupiter 8s and the Prophet 5 and the Fairlights and the Linn drum and everything.
Yeah.
You was using like the standard set of kit that all the bands were using around that period, but your sound sounded nothing like anything else that was out using the same equipment. I mean, I'm intrigued by how your music bled into the recorded music to sound like sophisticated electronic music rather than this kind of bombastic electronic music.
Do you know what? I am always envious of some of those artists, you know, the way they really, you know, the guy who did Muse, and he did Warm Leatherette and all these kind of, you know, early electronic where it's, you know, and Suicide, you know, that kind of brutal kind of... and just a bit of a song over a couple of chords. I really, you know, especially now, look back on some of that stuff and like, God, they really nailed it. You know, they really nailed in a pop song format, you know, that thing. But I think ours, Eddie and myself, really liked diverse kind of, once we got to writing songs, we were listening to people like Odyssey and people like that, along with Talking Heads and Magazine. So there was always a bit of soulful element in there. And then especially with Ed being such a Bowie kind of guy, you know, and then turning me on to Bowie. And I do think a bit of it as well is the fact that me and Ed were very self-taught, not prolific as musicians, but then we had Kevin and Gaza who were, and then a lot of the people we worked with were musicians. You know, Mike Howlett was the bass player in Gong, and an incredible bass player. Walter Becker, bass player in Steely Dan, but really he was a guitarist, wasn't he, Walter?
Yeah.
So we had this thing of I think of like me and Ed. We didn't understand a lot of the equipment we were using. We weren't, you know, the DX7 was sort of like, that was such a turning point for us, because that's when it went digital and algorithms, and we lost the sliders and the control buttons and stuff, and all of a sudden it was all in the machine. It was, you know, your hands weren't on it.
Yeah.
Your hands were doing things like that. Do, 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 do. Yeah. Increments of 5. Do, do, do. Increment of 3. It's like, fuck off. That's not making music. That was like heavy math. But fortunately, we had the likes of Gary Gazza Johnson, and obviously Gaz was a little bit more A-level student than, you know, Ed and myself. If you imagine Ed was GCSE and Gary wasn't even you know, I wasn't even entered for any exams at school. And then you imagine Gazza could have gone to university. So we had that broad spectrum of, you know, Gary's all hands-on, and Eddie's a bit, you know, I'm a bit the guitarist really, but I like a bit of keyboard. And then you've got Gaz who go, well, I can program that for you. Or you know what I mean? Or if you've got the DX, you've got MSQ sequencer and stuff like that, you know. So imagine I would use arpeggiator and the drum machine to trigger the arpeggiator and get bass lines going like that, you know, with echo units. You could make a really intricate you know, sound, but then you've got the likes of Gaza who can actually hear that and make it so that we can sequence it on a different keyboard that isn't the Jupiter 8 and stuff like that. So that's what was happening really. You had us like, I think the whole spectrum of engagement with all that equipment, like some people could really crack it, other people didn't know what they were doing. And some people were, well, I'm the guitarist really. Or Kevin, well, I'm the drummer really. But you know what? Yeah, I'm a bit keen to... But it was my solo record, right? And that's my last and one and only vinyl copy of it. The track on there, Dead of Night, is all DX7 too. Honest to God, if you listen to it, you know, you would go like that. Shut up. Just, it's so solid, it's untrue, but still hasn't warmed me to the keyboard.
Manhattan's music man, on every avenue, you heard the greatest sound, too much can get you down, decorate, painted for the union.
Obviously, you've done a ton of stuff. I know you're touring, but I know you had that album out in 2015.
Yeah.
Is there any new material in the ether that you just haven't got round?
Yeah, we are actually writing at the moment and involving the band a bit that we work with at the moment. So imagine you're always writing, and that's what happened with Autumn really. It was songs from many years ago right up to for that album. So the same is sort of happening now. We're sort of, if you imagine those last 10 years, you haven't stopped writing. So there's all these little demos.
Yeah.
And then you sort of start involving people, you know, seeing where it's going as a song. So it's a little bit sort of tentatively, yeah, we are writing. Some of them are actual written and some of them are in the process of being, you know, written and arranged.
Nice.
It takes a lot of energy to make new music when you've made such a lot of music, and as you change as a person, as you get older, like Autumn in the Neighborhood was specifically that age, the age we'd got to. We'd made a lot of records. We hadn't had a record out in 20 years. We were a lot older. and it was age specific. I feel like, wow, you nailed it there. So I think to attempt it again, you'd have to have an idea of why and what it is you're doing, really, because it's what the world doesn't need is just a load more songs. It's like, do you know what I mean? You know what really puts me off? Artists. You know when I look on their Spotify or wherever they are, and if it goes down and down and down and down and down, and it's like, I'm like that.
Yeah.
Because you don't just them out. Do you know what I mean? You've got to experience stuff. You've got to live stuff. The whole world has to conspire to make that music. And I'm not keen on artists just, here's another one.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
Guess what? Sounds like the last three. But I'm on tour and we're selling it. And I appreciate they've got to work and they've got to have a reason to go out and work. But it's like, well, we've made our reason going out to work is that we just play our songs. It doesn't matter the new or old. We're just playing our songs. Whereas I think quite a few of the artists, my God, they bang them out and it's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Some of my favourite new artists are like Owen Paulette and stuff like that. And they always change and it's never that much music they produce. And that seems about right to me, really.
Because your Autumn in the Neighbourhood album, that was a pledge campaign, which you absolutely smashed, didn't you? It massively exceeded its target.
Yeah. That was, well, we saw everybody doing it, really. And then we were approached to do it. And Ed and me just went, there's nothing to prove, really. We've done it. You've done it all. It's all been done. We're just enjoying what we've done, really. So we both sort of agreed that, well, we'll see what happens, and if the fans want it to happen, then we'll make it happen. If it falls flat, it'll be like, well, it's not happening because guess what? You didn't want it to happen. Tell you what, though, they were very vocal, They were, having them all on board, like a few thousand people on board with their opinions and with their not happy about this time schedule. I'm not happy about there's been a delay. And when are we going to hear something? And when are we going to... And it was like, oh, you fucking...
Yeah. Breathing space.
Wake up, King in Catholic style. With your man makeup. And your big money business smile. And cut 'em up. Crucial to every child. With your man made up. And your big man confident smile. The residential Black Sea band. They rose up out of the sinking.
You guys seem to be busier than ever, and you're doing some more dates with Simple Minds. I mean, you mentioned it earlier that you supported them back in the day, or you played with them back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be great shows. And we looked at your list of dates. You've got plenty of shows coming up right up into next year.
Yeah. That's been every year for the last.
Actually, you're playing a show literally 4 miles from where we are. You're playing Chelmsford Theatre. It's just literally up the road from us.
Have we been there before, Chelmsford? Chelmsford Theatre? It doesn't sound familiar.
I saw you in Chelmsford about 12 years ago supported by XSM, X Simple Minds with...
Oh, God, was that a nightclub or something?
Yeah, and it was pissing down with rain. Owen Paul was there as well. It was in Chelmsford Town Centre, and it was a horrible winter's night. But that wasn't Chelmsford where you're playing this time. But me and Andy are going to try and pop down and
please do.
Say hi to you guys.
That would be great. Please do.
We're just doing a little bit of research on you guys. I mean, obviously know enough about your music, but I noticed there was a lot of tours where you kept going back to the Philippines, and you seem to have a great connection there. And I just thought it must be great to go somewhere far away that is culturally completely different, but they totally get you.
Yeah, the Philippines is they call it new wave. So all 80s music is new wave. And that's a proper genre to them, you know, and they absolutely love it, you know. And the artists that they love are a bit diverse, like Fra Lippo Lippi, China Crisis, the Wild Swans, the Lotus Eaters, you know, those kind of people. You know, the nice thing about that is, like, you'll meet people who literally have grown up with you and they've waited 40 years to get to see you, and they'll come along with their kids, and you're sort of looking at them going, that is mad, that's wild, you know, that you connect with these people and they've played your songs, you know, they're in the car and in their house and on their holidays, and next thing you know, you stood next to them after the gig and they can't believe you're there. And
well, it shows how far-reaching your music goes, and probably, you know, you forget that China Crisis songs are worldwide songs. And people have heard them, and it's formed part of their life. So
from Mexico to New Zealand to Australia. I mean, 2 years ago we got to Australia and New Zealand for the first time. Imagine that, after 40 years. All these people at a gig, like, they never thought they'd ever see you, and then you get to chat to them all, and it's like, it's such an amazing thing, really. It really is. But the one thing we have become very aware of as we've gotten older is that it is the music that lives on. It's the music that's alive, that is living. You know, we make it and we perform it, but I'm pretty sure, you know, if I wasn't here or Eddie wasn't here, it would still be the music. It's not really about that, the artist as such. It is, until it isn't, you know, until they're not there. But the music carries on. Carries on and on and on.
Well, that's a really good point. I mean, you know, long after I'm not around, or Andy, or none of us were around, in hundreds of years' time, I dare say Christian will still be a thing. Black Man Ray,
somewhere,
that songs will still be in the ether somewhere. So I mean, there's a legacy there, which is amazing.
When all is said and all is done, my hands that work with the fire and steel. If I should play your part, to be worked with a record. If I should play your part, to be a record.
But Gary, thanks for your time. I mean,
Great, that.
But I mean, we'll finish with a couple of quick questions, a quick fun question.
Okay.
We just want to say that China Crisis formed a massive part of our musical tapestry growing up. So for us, it's a great thrill to speak to you. We've had lots of great comments from everyone on all our socials about speaking to you. So genuinely, it's a great thrill for us, and we've loved your music forever. So thank you for that. If you was to have a dinner table for 4 people, dead or alive, who would your 3 other guests be?
Oh, for fuck's sake, I don't know. Well, it would definitely be David Hockney.
Yeah.
It would definitely be David Hockney and Grayson Perry, Hockney, Perry, and a woman. If I had to choose a woman, who would it be? I would have to say Joni Mitchell.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great table. Well done.
And one for me, mate. Desert Island Disc, 1 album. What would it be?
Oh my god. One record.
I know it probably
One
changed.
record. If I had to, one fucking record, it would have to be Magazine's Real Life, their debut album. That record, it upsets me so much. It's so beautiful. It's so honest to God. There's some lyrics on there that are just unreal. They're just, and the delivery and everything about it was like, when I saw Punk happening, I didn't like it at all, really. Because I was a keyboard lad. I was like ELP and Yes and Tangerine. I didn't really like it. And then when Ed showed me Low, I was like, whoa, that's a bit interesting. That's great. That. Oh, yeah, that's really great. And then when we heard early Ultravox and early Human League, it's like, wow, that's a bit amazing. But it was actually Magazine's Definitive Gaze and Real Life and that album that was like, wow, that is it. That's like prog.
Yeah.
You know, it was close enough to it. That was like, it was a gateway into Talking Heads and Bowie and Brian Eno and everything, really.
And they just re-released all their albums last year, I think. Which I've
got it. I've got the box there.
The colour vinyls, yeah, I bought them as well. Mate, I thought I've got to have them because you say Magazine. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Gary, mate, thank you so much for this. We can't wait for all our viewers to see this.
Great, that.
And mate, enjoyed every minute of it. And we'll see you in Chelmsford.
Thanks very much, Andy. Thanks very much, Mark. Yeah, come along with you. See you then. Bye,
Cheers,
guys.
Gary. See you later.
Bye,